Will we soon see green helmets being sent in to enforce climate action? I'll have the news from New York as soon as it breaks.
How exciting! Will we see UN green helmets going in to enforce climate action? Well, we'll see. Happy Friday, folks. A documentary just went out, I got to share it with you, it's a real doozy, on my country's prime television channel, on prime time. And it was incredible. I mean, if you ever needed evidentiary proof of the colossal scam that's going on at the moment, to see this documentary, fully funded, slick, high production values going out on the main television channel to condition and propagandize the people of the country, this is it. So it was actually put together and all arranged by Mark Little of Kinsen, and they were in the news a couple of years ago. Grip.ie covered it nicely, no one else would. They were given 120 grand from the health service in Ireland to snoop on its citizens and look for anyone complaining about lockdown, etc., or any skeptics. And then in a cyber attack, when a member of parliament asked for the contracts and why this happened, they said, oh, we've lost them all. They're all gone. All the records are gone. So you can just see the corruption. It's manifest. But in any case, this outfit made this documentary and it is stunning. I'll just show you a little clip now of the intro.
RTE on Climate for Science Week.
Climate, the science. All the rainbow colours of WFUN. And you can see the title there, Tomorrow Tonight, Ireland in 2050. So absolutely comical, but let's go on and have a little look.
Now in 2050, climate crisis is the political agenda, the one challenge shaping every aspect of our lives. After half a century of false starts and missed opportunities, our leaders face a reckoning tonight in New York. In the coming hours, every sovereign nation on our planet will vote on the most radical climate intervention ever considered. Welcome to Tomorrow Tonight.
Like I said, very flashy. And you can see the propagandizing marionette there bobbing around. You can almost see the strings going straight up to the WFUN kind of controllers. It's quite sinister, if not a little humorous. But let's roll on and have a look at some real doozies.
We'll go live to our team of reporters all around the world, and Carla O'Brien will be drilling deep into the science to bring us a clearer picture of our journey to climate catastrophe. We'll also be joined in studio by experts in every aspect of the climate crisis. So let's cross over now to the United Nations headquarters in New York, where Emily Langa is standing by to bring us any news as it happens. Emily.
Here's Emily. But you can hear it there, climate catastrophe, all the usual buzzwords. I mean, straight from the top. So let's hear from Emily in New York.
Mark, the Swedish Prime Minister has set a deadline of 5 p.m. Eastern Time for the United Nations Security Council to commit to her radical new climate resolution. Will we soon see green helmets being sent in to enforce climate action? I'll have the news from New York as soon as it breaks.
And there's the conditioning, the veiled threats. You will in 2050 be facing the green helmets of the UN coming in to enforce. You know, just a little bit of conditioning there. So bizarre, so sinister.
Our climate has moved from being temperate. We now have the Costa de Curacao, for example, which is a huge tourist magnet.
The Costa de Curacao. For people outside Ireland, Curacao is a beach that occasionally has sunny days in the summer. And in 30 years' time, right, it'll still occasionally have sunny days in the summer, mostly rain. It's not going to change in 20 or 30 years. We know that even from IPCC don't claim that, the official climate body. So this is utter propaganda, you know? Costa de Curacao. You couldn't make it up, but they made it up.
But it's also been an intractable political problem that's emerged, and that's climate refugees. And they have come to Ireland in huge numbers. And we have the likes of Dylan Walsh and others calling for a wall to be built around Ireland. And that, to me, is the biggest political problem we face at this moment in time.
A wall to be built around. You see what he did just there? He's dog whistling to the old Trump stuff. Pure propaganda. And climate refugees, they're already making mutterings about those right now. Utter absurdity. In 20 to 30 years' time, with another zero 0.3 or zero 0.4 degrees, there'll be no effective change that's measurable or noticeable in the world. I mean, we have countless professors of climate science, like Professor Steve Coonan and many others, that have clearly illustrated 1.3 degrees extra since the 1800s, and all we've seen is massive benefits and a slight warming, mainly northern hemisphere and mainly in winter. I mean, to say this in 30 years' time, we're going to have real refugees, it's just absurd. We'll just have weather, same as we always had.
Cara, looking ahead to the future, if tonight in New York we've deadlock, nothing happens, this deal collapses, what does that mean for Ireland in the coming years?
Yeah, well, look, Harry mentions Curracloe, and it's great that they have more tourists, but we've lost all our tourist destinations on the west coast of Ireland, and we've had to move all of Westport inland because of sea level rise. So
we've moved all our tourists. Where'd the American come from? Oh, I forgot. Propaganda, so the Americans are always involved. We've moved a city in the west inland. We know the sea levels have not changed worth a toss in 150 years, right? Very slightly, and they're to do with other geological kind of movements. To say in 30 years you'd be moving cities, I mean, we've seen all the pictures, and we've seen Obama and all the guys buying all these coastal or coastfront properties. I mean, this is just absurd, and yet sadly, many people will actually watch this nonsense, not realise it's pure anti-scientific propaganda, and they'll actually swallow it up. And that's why it's important that we get the message out on disgraceful kind of propaganda productions like this, because we need to let people know you are being duped at a colossal scale.
this is happening now. It's not just in the future. But if we look into 2075, what we're facing is terrifying. It means that children born today will be living in a society of sociological and ecological collapse. And really, the stakes couldn't be higher tonight.
Cara, Harry, thank you so much.
Cara, Harry, thank you so much for delivering such beautiful propaganda on behalf of our paymasters. As I said, comical. 2075, 25 years after this purported nonsense, right? We're going to have sociological collapse. Well, by all means, we'll have sociological collapse. But it'll come from WEF, UN and the other guys, you know, when we're all shoved into 15-minute cities and whatnot. And we have CBDCs. And if you complain in the slightest, you know, your tokens will stop working. Yeah, there'll be all kinds of problems. But they're not driven by climatic science. They're not driven by real phenomena. That's going to go on pretty much as normal. As we said, in the last 150 years, we've gone up 1.3. We've got the greening of the deserts now with the extra bit of CO2 because we had approached extinction level for plants. Luckily, we're a little up and everything's been fine. So these problems that this lady is guffing about, they're going to come from the same people who are paying for this program.
Our reporter Ava Ryan traces the remarkable transformation of Irish agriculture.
I grew up in these fields, hearing those stories. 5 generations of O'Sullivans milked cows on this land. I didn't think I'd be the last.
Oh my God, ham in the extreme. But there you go. Well, if you're going to be the last, actually, son, you're going to be the last because you'll be moved into a 15-minute city and the land will be rewilded and it'll be for the use of the people who are orchestrating this nonsense, you know, and you'll be there with your central bank tokens, you know, in an impoverished living and your children ahead of you. Yeah, but again, all of that problem is going to come from the same people who are paying for this junk.
2034, I'll never forget it. There was suddenly this synthetic milk that tasted like identical. You couldn't tell the difference, and it was half the price to produce it.
2034, right? Synthetic milk. So I guess Booby Bill at that stage might have passed away, but it looks like his vision was realised. This is ultra-processed muck they're talking about, and of course they're conditioning the population as much as they can to actually accept this nonsense that currently is not sticking. So all the fake meat and the fake food companies are getting hammered in their stock price, right? People don't want junk food and ultra-processed chemical plant food. They want real food generally. But this documentary, this propaganda, it's trying to push people to actually accept ultra nonsense, disgusting, bad health inducing fake food. you know, and it's corny, but, you know, some people are going to believe this crap.
But Donal had a hidden asset, his daughter, Elizabeth.
I was in my final year up in UCC doing food tech, and I was planning on going to the US to work on the earliest pollinating drones out there.
Pollinating drones? Give me a break.
But Dad needed me. The farm was in a bit of trouble and we had to come up with something new and kind of fast. So I looked at the farm with my engineer's eye and asked myself, well, look, if milk is too expensive a way to make proteins, how can we get protein that's cheaper?
I spy with my engineering eye something the WEF and the UN and the G20 would like. Let's go inside the barn and look.
Yeah, like it was a bit of a struggle to bring the public around at first, but...
It was a bit of a struggle, yeah, because the public aren't totally dense in spite of how they behaved like sheep during COVID, right? So that's why you need propaganda like this. But of course, eat the bugs. I mean, it's like bingo here. I'm only going to show you a couple more clips, but I think the program is free because they want to get this nonsense out there as widely as possible. So I'll put a link below. But, you know, they're hitting every New World Order bingo card. And people talk about conspiracy theory when all of this stuff, right, is documented and published all over the world, only no one reads it and the media won't cover it, right? But the bingo card is absolutely full in this program. If I made a parody, right, a parody of a program like this, a propaganda program, it'd be roughly the same. I wouldn't need to do much different. It's just insane.
You know, once we got the school lunches contract, like...
Once we get the school contracts, well, of course you get contracts, wouldn't you? Because the public servants report to the politicians, and the politicians no longer represent the people in sovereign nations. They report up essentially to the EU Commission, to the G20, to the WF. That's effectively the org structure for this thing. So of course you're going to get contracts from schools and public service, because they're all in on the whole scam. I mean, pathetic.
Sure, that just changed everything, and we haven't really looked back since.
I'm sure you haven't, because you took Judas Silver. But, you know, don't worry. You'll be penned in a 15-minute city soon enough, and you might realise the error of your ways.
And then we're producing around 90% less carbon as well. And the land that we're not using, we've rewilded.
90% less carbon. And we've rewilded the land so that the guys up top who are funding all this nonsense, right, can enjoy all of that nature. And we can put all those pesky little human ants into the 15-minute cities.
There was a time when farmers were given incentives to do more. More beef, more grain, more milk. Now, we're getting paid to give the land back to nature. Everybody wins, I suppose.
Everybody wins, I suppose. No, the guys who are orchestrating all of this, they win. You end up in the 15-minute city. You used to get funded and helped to make real food, meat, fish and eggs, real ancestral human foods, because the politicians giving the funding actually represented the people and they represented their health and happiness. But now they report to someone else, and those people want everything rewilded for their pleasure. And they want the likes of you pure dupe. They want you in a nice high-rise city where you can be nicely controlled and fed processed food.
Back when the dairy industry collapsed in the 30s, the government was very clear. They wanted us to do energy. And we did.
And we did, like the sheep we are. God almighty. And just looking at that guy, to be honest, I think he needs a little bit of metabolic health advice. But besides that, the government told us this is the problem. The amount of useful idiots at this stage is, I just find it astonishing, and I'm sure you do too. But again, the important message here is this kind of stuff going out on national television, on prime time, and by outfits, right, that took part in censorship and surveillance of our citizens during the COVID era, right? This is a clear sign that the thing is progressing. And it's actually, as I mentioned earlier, it's evidentiary. You know, right here you have evidence of the scam. It's not a conspiracy theory. The funding is going to put this vile propaganda on our screens, And it's simply proving the point. There's no conspiracy theory. And everything is documented in the Agenda 2030 and 21 plans. Huge documents signed off in the 90s by 193 countries, I think. And if you read them, they're couched in lovely language, right? And word salad and nonsense words. But at the end of the day, just read between the lines, they're heading towards a kind of dystopia. And there will be an ultra-defined two-tier society. The masses in the cities eating the processed junk, and then there'll be an elite of sorts to varying degrees, and they will have the rewilded land, and they will have the access to resources. And I'll just show on the screen now, WEF said in 2016, and they were not joking, you'll own nothing and be happy. You'll rent everything from us, right? If you cause any trouble or you're problematic, maybe the thing won't be available to rent, okay? And when there's central bank digital currency, maybe if you're a problematic person, your card won't work, right? So you can see where this is going. It's a desire and a clearly laid out strategy from a group or a large group of NGOs, corporations and individuals. There's no guy stroking a cat. There's just a conglomerate of fascism, which is the combination of corporatism and state, which is what we have. And it's marching ahead to a plan that's been developed for decades and has largely kicked off in a big way since March 2020. You know, that was the trigger. We all saw it and we lived through it. And now we're seeing the sequelae, the ensuing pursuit of the strategies. So I'd ask everyone to just, share, click on the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and everyone else who's trying to get the message out, please do support them in as much as you can. It's hard to convert people who are propagandized. I know that. Stay calm, refer to the publications of the UN, the published literature, just raise the points that are occasionally in the mainstream media. Don't refer to stuff on Facebook and conspiracy theory nonsense. You're going to lose the house. There's tons of material out there that illustrates where we're heading and what we need to do without getting into kind of what you might call crazy stuff. So that's just a bit of advice. Stay calm. We'll get there. I have no doubt we'll prevail in the end, but it's going to be a pretty rough next 10 or 15 years, I would guess. And finally, thanks so much to my Patreon and PayPal supporters. You guys enable me to do the analysis, to go on the TV or radio shows when I can, to get out videos and explain what's going on in the world. And we need more people doing that. We need to have as loud a voice as possible, because as you can see from this vile propagandistic junk, we got a battle to fight. So thanks so much, everyone.